Good afternoon to one and all. I am dealing with the course of Power Plant Engineering. In that, today's topic is feed water treatment. The outline of my presentation is necessity of feed water treatment, different impurities found in feed water, effect of impurities, pH and its role in corrosion and scale formation, internal and external water treatment systems, demineralization plants, reverse osmosis process, seawater treatment using reverse osmosis, and de-aeration. So, what is the necessity for the feed water treatment? In steam power plant, water is the one of the most important raw material. So, in most of the cases, water used for the steam power plant contains impurities which must be treated before use. So, all the natural waters, even rain, snow, hail, treated municipal supplies also contains impurities. So different types of impurities found in the feed water. There are different types of the impurities found in the feed water. In that, first one is the undissolved suspended materials. So in the undissolved suspended materials, there are several impurities such as turbidity and sediment, calcium and potassium salts, chlorides, iron, magnesium, silica, microbiological growths, and color. So these are the undissolved suspended materials. And coming to dissolved salts and minerals, there are only calcium and magnesium salts which are dissolved in the water. And some of the dissolved gases like carbon, carbon dioxide, oxygen, which can be treated by using the methods of COD, chemical oxygen demand, and BOD, biological oxygen demands. Next one is other materials. Other materials such as free mineral acids and oil. So these are the various impurities present in the feed water. If we consider turbidity and sediments, turbidity is the suspended insoluble matter which can be sediments, which are the coarse particles which can settle down in stationary water. Both are objectable. So microbiological growth means presence of microorganisms is always undesirable. Means they produce changing troubles. So coming to dissolved salts and minerals such as calcium and magnesium. So minerals means the presence of the water is always undesirable. As a result, there is a chemical reaction with the boiler material. So mineral acids are formed by using this material. Next one is the hardness of calcium and magnesium as bicarbonates, chlorides, sulfides, etc. are mainly possible for the formation of very hard surface which resist heat presence of the salts known as the hardness. So this hardness is formed due to the calcium and magnesium. Next, effect of the impurities. So in the effect of the impurities, there are four parameters we are considering: scale formation, corrosion, forming and priming, and embrittlement. So in that first one is the scale formation. How do the scales are formed? So the formation of the scales reduces the heat transfer and simultaneously increases the temperature of the metal wall. So if the scales are formed, so this, if we take this is a boiler wall, in this boiler wall, if the scales are formed, this reduces the temperature. When the temperature of the boiler tube material reaches 450 degrees centigrade to 500 degrees centigrade, there is a serious damage of overheating and consequently rupture of boiler takes place. So the scaling results in the decreasing of the solubility of some salts with increasing in temperature. So if we consider this diagram, so if we consider this is a boiler wall, in the boiler wall some of the impurities of scales are formed, then it forms a one layer. So this hard adhesive coating or the inner walls of the coating reduces the scalings. So It is formed by, these scales are formed by the crystallizations of supersaturated layer of water lying on the heated surface. So this is a incrustation at the point of evaporation. Scale is due to the salts of calcium and magnesium, as also to certain extent of salts of silicates. So these are the reactions. CaHCO3 holds twice at if we heat that at 100 degrees centigrade, it forms a calcium carbide, which is a soft sludge, so it will get precipitate, and carbon dioxide gases will release along with some of the water. So along with that calcium, if we consider the magnesium, if we consider the magnesium bicarbonate, when the magnesium bicarbonate plus it is heated when in the boiler at 100 degrees centigrade, it forms the magnesium carbide, which is the soft sludge which settles down. And the gases released is carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide moves to the upward direction. Along with that, water is formed. So this is the scale formation. Next one is the corrosion. Corrosion is the destructive conversion of metals into metal oxides or the salts. It causes wearing the boiler metals and produces pit grooves and cracks on the boiler surface. So, how do the corrosion forms? The destructive corrosion of the metals into the oxides. So, metals present are converted into the oxides or salts, then the corrosion will form. So, these oxides will wear the boiler metals and produces pits, grooves, and cracks on the boiler surface. So corrosion on the inner surface of the boiler tube is mainly caused due to the presence of oxides in the boiler feed water. So carbon dioxide is next to the oxygen, which is responsible for the corrosion. Means corrosion is mainly formed due to the dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide. So dissolved carbon dioxide in the water forms carbonic acid. Means carbon dioxide reacts with water to form the carbonic acids. These carbonic acids reacts with iron and other metals to form the bicarbonates. So they are decomposed by heating, and carbon dioxide is again liberated. Carbon dioxide is again formed the carbonic acids. So this is a continuation formation. Due to this continuation formation, the boiler metal will get cracks, pits. Next one is the priming, foaming, and carry away. So a layer of foam due to the presence of insoluble and soluble salts in the water. Steam passage is filled with mass of the fourth bubbles. This is called as a foaming. So forming means when the soluble and insoluble salts in the water, when the steam passes through this, bubbles are formed due to these salts. This is called as a foaming. Foaming can be reduced by adding castor oil, anti-foaming agents, and by adding sodium aluminum. During rapid steam formation, some water droplets are also carried along with the steam as it leaves the boiler. This wet steam formation is also called as a priming. Means when the rapid means when the large amount of the steam production is formed at a certain time, some of the water droplets are carried with the stream. This process is called as a priming. So priming is also called as a overcarrying. So in this overcarrying is caused due to the impurities of water, a high water level, and a method of operation of the boiler. Next one is caustic embrittlement. So embrittlement caused due to the presence of caustic impurities present in the water. So presence of certain concentration of NaO and silicon causes the NaOH and silicon causes the embrittlement. So presence of NaOH makes the metal brittle, and the inner cracks appears along the seams below the water level. Means if the presence of NaOH is formed in the metal, it will form the inner cracks of the metal. So NaOH flows into a minute hair cracks on the boiler surface by the capillary action. These can be prevented by adding the sodium phosphate as softening agent and addition of organic agents like titanium and lignin and the addition of Na2SO4 to the water. This reduces the embrittlement. Since it is formed by the caustic soda, it is called as a caustic embrittlement. Next, pH and its role. pH of the water is the logarithmic of reciprocal of hydrogen ion concentration in the water. So if the concentration of the pH in the water is 10 to the power of 7, then the pH of the water can be written as pH is equal to log of 1 by 10 to the power of 7, that is equal to 7. pH value is 7 at 20 degrees centigrade. So pH value varies from 0 to 14. A sample of water having pH value less than 7 indicates the acidity of the water and more than 7 indicates the alkalinity of the water. As the pH is the logarithmic function, solution having the value of 6, 5, 4 are respectively 10, 100 and 1000 times more acidic than the solution of having pH value of 7. Next, role of pH. The corrosion role of iron in the absence of oxygen is proportional to the pH value. Means the corrosion rate of iron in the absence of oxygen is directly proportional to the pH value. At lower pH value, iron will be a more soluble. The oxygen in the water unites with ferrous oxide to form a ferric oxide. Means if the oxygen in the water is formed, so the metals like ferrous oxide reacts with oxygen and form ferric hydroxide. The value of pH added to the feed water can be kept greater than 9.6. Means it should be have some of the acidic natures. So corrosion rate increases due to the presence of dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide in the water as the concentration of H plus ion increases as pH value. Means the corrosion action increases due to the presence of carbon oxide and carbon dioxide in the water as the concentration of H plus increases with the increases of pH value of water. Next, types of feed water treatment. There are 5 types of the feed water treatments are there. In that, first one is the mechanical treatment, thermal treatment, chemical treatment, demineralization and blowdown. In that first one, mechanical treatment. Mechanical treatment are used for removing of the suspended solids. So the some of the methods used are sedimentation, coagulation, filtration, interior painting. And coming to thermal treatment is used for the removal of dissolved gases. And the methods used are deaeration, distillation for evaporation. And next one is the chemical treatment. When coming to the chemical treatment, used for the removing of dissolved solids. So some of the methods used for the removing of the chemical methods is the soda lime and softening process, hot lime soda and softening process, lime phosphate and softening process, ion exchange or sodium zeolite or hydrogen zeolite process, demineralization, blown down. So in the blown down again 2 methods are there, hot lime and zeolite process, adding acids to control the alkalinity and vice versa. In the chemical methods are again broadly classified into 2 methods, internal water treatment methods and external water treatment methods. So in internal water treatment methods, in this method, dissolved solids are removed in the boiler itself by adding chemical either to the precipitate the impurities so that it can remove in the form of sludge or convert the impurities into the harmless salts. Means in the boilers, if the dissolved solids are there, if we add the chemicals to the dissolved solids, they either precipitate the impurities or they can be removed in the form of sludge or convert impurities into the harmless salts. So for the internal water treatment, there are some of the methods like sodium carbonate treatment, phosphate carbonate, sodium aluminate, colloidal treatment and blow down treatment. In that, first one is the sodium carbonate treatment. So in the sodium carbonate treatment, CaSO4 means calcium sulfate reacts with the soda ash and form insoluble form of sludge, that is calcium chloride, and Na2SO4, that is sodium sulfate anhydrous is formed. Means calcium sulfate reacts with soda ash and form the insoluble sludge which precipitate downwards, and sodium hydroxide will form. This sodium hydroxide anhydrous reacts with water and heat and form sodium hydroxide and water along with carbon dioxide. And if we consider the calcium content, and if we consider the magnesium, so magnesium sulfate reacts with soda ash and forms a sludge of magnesium hydroxide, and Na2SO4 is formed. So this is the sodium carbonate treatment. Next one is the phosphate treatment. Scale formation provided by adding sodium phosphonate, that is 3 moles of calcium carbide reacts with sodium hydrogen phosphate to form calcium phosphate, and which is a precipitate which settles down, and 6 moles of NaCl is formed. So a monosodium phosphate which is used for high alkaline boiling water, and disodium phosphate is preferred for the modern alkaline boiling water, and trisodium phosphate is preferred for the less alkaline boiling water. Next one is the sodium aluminate. The scale formation avoided by adding Na2AlO2, that is sodium aluminum oxide. So sodium aluminum oxide reacts with water and forms NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide. Along with that, aluminum hydroxide is formed. In magnesium chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide and forms magnesium hydroxide and 2 moles of NaCl. So this is the sodium aluminate process. Next one is the colloidal method. It is used for low pressure boilers to prevent the scale formation by adding the substances like tannin, starches, lignin, and kerosene. By adding to this, we can prevent the colloidal treatment. Coating of these substances is formed over scaling, forming precipitates. It results in the formation of non-sticky and loose deposits similar to the sludge formation, which can be removed by the blow down treatment. Since this colloidal treatment can be treated by using the blow down treatment. So this is the blow down treatment. So if we consider the boiler drum, in the boiler drum there is a water. If the water is supplied from the condenser and make up water, cold reacts, this water gets converted into the steam, and a blow down is collected. So the water entering the boiler which contains some of the dissolved salts, the concentration of these solids goes on increasing as the water is evaporating. Beyond a certain limit of concentration, these solids may cause foaming and priming. So the concentration of these solids may be reduced by drawing off some of the quantity of the boiling water from the bottom of the boiler drum. This is called as a blowing down, and discharged water called as a blow down water. So the concentration of the salts reduces the quantity of the water at the boiler drum is called as a blow down discharged water, and this water is called as a blow down water. So if we consider the boiler, in the boiler the discharged quantity of the bottom is collected in this blow down level. This blow down line is connected to the blow down vessel. So it consists of various impurities at the bottom. As a result, the concentration of these impurities increases. The boiler drum can be temporarily reduces. So this vent can be heated. In this boiler blow down vessel, the vent head is there for the removing process. Next, external water treatment methods. So in the external water treatment methods, there are various methods of the external treatments like mechanical treatment, thermal treatment, and chemical treatment, which we described in our previous session. So in that, first one is the sedimentation. So sedimentation means it is a process of collect. In this method, water is allowed to uh, stand alone in a big tanks or allowed to flow at very low velocity. This solid matter settles down due to the gravity, which is then removed periodically or continuously. Clean water is taken from the surface tank. So when the sediments are formed, along with the water, due to the heavy weights, the sediments can be settled down at the bottom. So this sedimentation can remove the heavy particles. Next one is the coagulation. Coagulation of minute colloidal substance makes to settle down easily. Adding a coagulation like aluminum sulfate or sodium sulfate improves the sedimentation or filtration process. A reaction between these salts or alkalinity in the water forms a generalized material which makes smell-like particles to adhere them. Forming large particles, they settle down or filter down easily. Next one is the filtration. In this method, the water is allowed to pass through a bed of fine sand or granite sand and then a layer of the gravels. The suspended matter adheres to the filter material, leaving the water clean as it drains from the bottom. So the beds may be washed out periodically to remove the dust and colloids in the form of the filter matters. Next one is the distillation method. So distillation method means a evaporation function is produced from the raw water and vapor can be formed to condensate to distillate the water for the boiler feed water. In some cases, the use of evaporator is used to make up the water up to 4% of raw up to 4%. So in this case, the regenerative cycle, the evaporator is quite useful as the steam used for the evaporation is being be fed feed water itself. Next one is the deaeration process. So in the deaeration process, which can be described as the water which is coming from the steam which is coming from the boiler inlet can be collected by using the vent condenser. In the vent condenser, there will be a level to indicates the level of the water. So when the steam enters, the air is passing through this trace. When the air passes, some of the heavy particles can be settled down. This can be stored to the tank, and the level of the water can be checked by using the level controller. Next one is the hot lime soda process. So in the hot lime soda process, the raw water from the feed inlet can be sent into this reaction tank. So in this reaction tank is in the form of the conical sedimentation tank. So this reaction tank can be heated. So this water can be converted in the form of the in this a superheated steam is inlet is there, and also the chemicals is added to this water such as lime and soda. So when the lime and soda is added to the raw feed water and the superheated steam enters, there will be a conical sedimentation tank, and the precipitation sludge of calcium carbide and magnesium bicarbonates are settled down and can be precipitated. Sludge can be removed out very easily. So after this process, the hard water can be converted into the soft water. So this softened water can be sent into this tank. In this, a fine layers of sand is there, and the coarse sand is there, and is used for the filtration process. After the sand filters, the gravels are this water can be passed through the gravel layer, and the filtered softened water can be removed out, and this water can be used as a boiler feed water. So this is a cyclic process. Means the raw water enters into the conical tanks and the chemical added precipitation is formed, and this hard water can be converted into the soft water. This soft water can be sent into the filtration process. After filtration, filtered soft water is collected. So the chemical reaction takes place are given below. So the carbide hardness can be removed by the hot lime soda process. So calcium bicarbonate reacts with calcium hydroxide and forms the calcium carbide with water reaction. And the magnesium bicarbonate reacts with calcium hydroxide and forms calcium carbides along with magnesium hydroxide, and water is formed. Here the calcium carbide and the magnesium hydroxide can be settled down and the water forms can be used. The sulfate hardness of calcium and magnesium can be removed by the soda ash. Means calcium sulfates reacts with sodium carbonate and forms the calcium carbide, which can be precipitated below, and Na2CO3 Na2SO4 is formed, and the magnesium sulfates reacts with the sodium carbonate and forms the magnesium carbide, and which is a precipitate. Along with that, Na2SO4 is also formed. The chloride hardness of calcium and magnesium are removed by the soda and lime respectively. Calcium chloride reacts with sodium carbonate and forms the calcium carbide along with 2 moles of sodium chloride is formed. And the magnesium chloride reacts with and the magnesium chlorides reacts with the CaOH whole twice and forms the magnesium hydroxide anhydride and with the salts of calcium chloride. So this CaCO3 and magnesium anhydride are precipitates and can be settled down easily. So sometimes trisodium and caustic soda are also used in the reaction of Liebig soda. Phosphate is very effective in removing the calcium and magnesium. Means 3 moles of 3 moles of calcium hydroxide carbide reacts with 6 moles of sodium oxides and forms 3 moles of calcium carbide and 3 moles of sodium carbonate, and 6 moles of water is formed. And if we consider the magnesium, so this magnesium anhydrous carbide reacts with 4 moles of sodium hydroxide, that is NaOH, and forms the magnesium hydroxide, which precipitates down, and 2 moles of sodium carbonate is formed along with 2 moles of water is formed. So 3 moles of calcium sulfate, sorry, calcium phosphate reacts with 2 moles of sodium hydroxide phosphate and forms 3 moles of calcium phosphate and 3 moles of Na2SO4, and 3 moles of magnesium sulfate reacts with 2 moles of sodium hydrogen phosphate and forms uh, 1 mole of magnesium phosphate and 3 moles of sodium phosphate. So advantages of hot lime soda process is, this process is economical. It is capable of treating large quantities of water in a relative small quantities. pH of the water rises, which improves the corrosion resistance of the water by using the lime and soda. Silicon is effectively removed from the water. The size of the settling tank is reduced as the precipitate is larger in size and settles more quickly. And disadvantages are, softness produced by this method is less than the zeolite process. Huge amount of the sludge is formed and the disposal is difficult. Controlling of the hot process is very difficult. The softening method can be removed by the filtration to avoid the precipitated being carried with the softened water. Backwashing of the filter periodically is required to increases the efficiency of the filter. And next one is the zeolite process. So in the zeolite process, non-silicous materials can be used for the exchange of ions between the calcium and cations and the of calcium and magnesium. So these synthetic zeolites are developed as sulfate and for polyester resins, so which can withstand with acid, and when regenerated with acid can be used for the exchange of the sodium for the metals in the form of the solutions. So here the zeolite bed is formed. Zeolite bed is there. In this zeolite bed, which can be made with the sulfate coal or the polyester resins are formed. So when the water, high pressure water is enters to this zeolite bed and passes through this zeolite bed and can be removed the cations and the anions. Exchange is process is there, so which removes the cations and the anions, and the high pressure water can be converted into the suspended gravel bed in which the pure water is collected. In this pure water is backwashed and risen off impurely. So advantages of zeolite ion exchange method is hardness of the water can be removed almost completely up to 10 ppm only. There is no sludge formation, hence the process is clean. This process automatically adjusts itself for different hardness of the incoming water. The equipment is very small and easy to handle. It requires less time for the softening process. It is not necessary to filter the soft water as it is required in the lime soda process. And disadvantages are turbid water cannot be admitted to the zeolite water. Means if turbidities are there, it cannot be this water cannot be used for the zeolite bed because the beds are inactive. Suspended impurities can be filtered before it passing through the bed because in the bed zeolites are there. If any impurities are there, there will be a scale formation. This reduces the efficiency of the zeolite bed. Water with high or low pH damages the bed of zeolite. On removing of the calcium and magnesium ions, the soft water contains large amount of NaHCO3 which on heating liberates the carbon dioxide. This causes the corrosion in the boilers. Next one is the demineralization process. So this the mineral contents of the water can be removed by the evaporation or by series of the cations or the anions. Means by in this evaporation, in this process, there will be a series of the cation exchanger and anion exchanger is there. So demineralization is the soften and it is economical method for producing up of makeup with high pressure boiler. A simple demineralization would be used first two units. Strong base anion exchange materials absorbs weak acids as well as the strong acids. So weak acid ion exchange material are used for the removing of the chlorides and nitrites. Means the raw water which is entering into this cation exchanger. This cation exchanger removes the cationic particles and enters into the anionic exchanger. So in the anionic exchanger, the weak bases can be removed, the chlorides such as the um, chlorides, sulfides and nitrites. In cation exchange, it will remove the strong acids. After that, it is sent into the degasifier. In the degasifier, some of the gases are removed, and after that, the air outlet is there. And then after degasifier, the water is collected in the beaker, and it is sent. Water is collected in a tank, and this is sent into the silica absorber by using a pump. After the water passes to the silica absorber, it converts into the soft water. And for the degasifier, some of the air is passed for the process. Next, the exhausted caution resin can be reactivated using H2SO4 or hydrogen chloride, whereas the anion resins can be reactivated using NaOH or Na2CO3. Advantages are high quantity pure distilled water in the range of 0 to 2 ppm can be obtained. Water obtained is free from the distilled gases and the silica. And disadvantages are equipment is costly and operating cost is also very high. Next one is the reverse osmosis. Generally, the reverse osmosis is the process of reverse process of the osmotic flow. So this is the osmotic flow. So generally the pure water is converted into the salt water by using a semi-permeable membrane. So in the reverse osmosis process, there will be the high pressure, means the salt solution can be converted into the pure water by the pressure difference, high pressure to convert it to the low pressure. Advantages of reverse osmosis process are: it is an efficient method of removing salts, chemical contaminants, and heavy metals such as lead from the drinking water. So this can be removes the salts and metals like leads can be removed. It is cheaper than the ion exchange process for water containing a dissolved salts of 200 ppm and more than. It is simple in operate and maintenance. And disadvantages are: membranes must be cleaned at regular intervals of time. If it is not cleaned, the scale formation is there. Membrane must be replaced every 1 to 3 years depending upon the water quantity and the size of the system. Pump used requires a regular maintenance. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of reverse osmosis. And next one is the seawater treatment using reverse osmosis. So here we are taking the seawater. So seawater can be converted into the pure water, and this pure water can be used as the feed water to the boiler. So the seawater can be sent into the coagulation aid by using the raw water pump. Here the chlorides can be removed and the coagulant aid is there, and here the pH are maintained. After that it is sent into the media filter. In this any impurities are there, it can be removed. After that it is sent into the cartridge filter in which a membrane is there. And with the high pressure water, this high pressure water can be sent into the reverse osmosis bank. In this, saline water can be rejected by passing through these membranes. After the removing of the saline water, a pure water can be stored in the storage tank. This pure water can be sent into the feed water as a boiler. So these are the various feed water treatments which are used for the boilers. Thank you.